A week or so ago now, I posted a video with a lot of information and a lot of statistics regarding a huge weapon rebalance that's going on the Battlefield 1 CTE right now. This rebalance has vastly changed the way the game plays in the CTE, and it brings the game into a different realm in comparison to the vanilla version. And I'm of the opinion that this big change has made the game better. Now, I want to try and explain why I think that is the case today, in the hope that some of you guys out there will start to understand the benefits of bringing Battlefield 1's gunplay more in line with previous games in the franchise like Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. I'll also highlight the areas that I think need more refinement as well, in the interest of presenting a fair argument. So, let's get into it. The overall weapon rebalance is an attempt by the developers to reduce the time to kill, or the TTK, that Battlefield 1 currently has. At the moment, the game has, on average, a longer time to kill than previous iterations, and some of the current weapon balancing feels a little bit, at least to me, a little bit too blocky. Weapon classes feel quite distant from one another, and in certain gunfights, you almost know who's going to win before you start them. And this is almost by design, however, because DICE did state that with Battlefield 1, the weapon balance is more based on being at the optimal engagement range for that weapon. However, in some cases, some weapons will have a vastly shorter time to kill than other weapons. So this update is aimed at shifting all of the weapons around a little bit and bringing them closer together to reduce the gap in weapons that currently take too long to kill and others that can kill very, very quickly. So to begin with, all of the SMGs have had their damages buffed, and that means the Hellriegel and the Automatico as well. This results, overall for the SMGs, in less bullets being needed to kill an enemy, and on average it's 1 bullet less than it was before. And because SMGs are mainly used in close quarters engagements, you will find that this reduces the time to kill quite considerably. SMGs are supposed to win in close quarters over the other weapons, but now, with their increased damage, this means they can reach out just a little bit further than they could before, and they blur the lines a little bit with the brand new LMG balancing models. The MP18, with these new weapon tweaks, is now on par with the Hellriegel, which means it no longer sits as an outlier with its 60 bullets of pain. The Hellriegel, yes, it did get a buff, but not as much, and it now falls into line with some similar weapons. The Automatico, that did get tweaked as well, but it didn't get as much of a tweak in comparison to the other SMGs. It's had its maximum damage upped from 12 to 13.5, and it's had its vertical recoil dropped just slightly. It hardly needed a buff anyway, but now it sits as a sort of close-range shotgun-like SMG, which I guess is what it was supposed to be in the first place, but the weapon balancing never really let that happen, and it could get kills at way further ranges than it was really supposed to. It doesn't really sound like from that information that the Hellriegel and the Automatico have really been made any worse than they were before, and that's because they're not any worse, they're actually better, but in comparison to the other SMGs, which have all been brought up to their level, they didn't need as much of a buff. But you've got to remember here that DICE isn't just seeking to change it weapon by weapon, they're changing the categories to change the overall weapon balance. So even though they got buffed, it wasn't as much as the others, so you just have to think about the context a little bit. Moving from the SMGs to the LMGs now, weapons like the Lewis gun and the Bene Merce, they're being brought out of the shadows and they're being given a new lease of life with these changes. The LMGs overall, before this change, were probably considered the most underwhelming weapons in Battlefield 1, and that's a shame because some of them look really cool and I think deserve to be fairly good in the game, and sometimes it was more of a game of hit marker hunting than anything else, but in the CTE, the LMGs are now much more competitive. The engagement range that they work in best, which is medium range, is now covered by so many more LMGs than it was before, and that makes them far more engaging and far more enjoyable to play with. The bullet sponge effect, which is what most people call it, has been removed, where guns like the Lewis gun, they could take up to 7 bullets to kill at range. All of the LMGs are now guaranteed to kill people in 5 bullets or less, with the Shoshar leading the pack with a 3-shot kill potential. Their extended magazine sizes as well, that means they're far more effective for taking out multiple targets without having to reload now, and considering all of their reloads are fairly lengthy, this is another good step for the class in making it more enjoyable to play as a support soldier. Now, the reason that I think these SMG and LMG changes are good is because of a major gameplay effect that Battlefield 1 suffers from. In Conquest, it's called zerging. This is the act of large groups of players running around the map together, and occasionally they crash with another enemy zerg. In vanilla Battlefield 1, this happens all the time in Conquest, and the weapon balance and the time to kill, I think that plays a big part. If a weapon cannot kill a player fast enough, it will attract the attention of another player, and it could turn that gunfight into a 2v1, a 2v2, a 3v2, 3v3, and so on. This behaviour naturally causes grouping on a large scale. Squads running around together is absolutely fine, and it's encouraged in Battlefield, but when you have 20 or more players running around in a group, this does have an effect on the gameplay. The advantage of having weapons that kill a little bit quicker means that if you were to say come across another player on your own, and you had the aim, the skill and the positioning to beat them, you'll beat them before any other enemies notice. This allows flanking to occur because you're able to move from enemy to enemy efficiently, and if you're on a flank, you know you've got the upper hand anyway. The new system in the CTE allows one player to stand much more of a chance in a gunfight on their own by finishing off one player or maybe even another one if they come round the corner. Rather than the game compensating for an enemy's lack of skill with a weapon by making all of the weapons inherently worse, skill is rewarded with this new system, and the player who has the better position and more knowledge with the gun is going to win the gunfight. And this makes for a better experience all round, and it introduces more learning to the game as well. If you want to win gunfights, you're going to need to know your weapon, and you need to know your surroundings. There is one position that I think needs a bit more work at the moment. That's with the medic rifles, the semi-auto rifles. You can basically discount the new Fedorov Avtomat because that really does need to be treated separately. It is a fully automatic rifle after all. In the CTE, DICE has reduced the ADS minimum spread on all SLRs. They've reduced the spread increase per shot from 0.2 to 0.1 for all SLRs, and they've increased the range of most of the SLRs. Essentially, DICE has made them more accurate and given them more range, and that pushes out their engagement distance further than the LMGs now. Going from near to far, it's shotguns, SMGs, LMGs, medic SLRs, and then the scout rifles. Now, I'm fine with these changes overall because most of the weapons perform well at long range, they've got the damage to back it up, and we have a few choices for mid to close range as well. We've got the Che Rigotti, that's got full auto, the 1907 Sweeper, that's got full auto, and the new fully automatic Fedorov Avtomat. But the longer range medic rifles, they have a few attributes that make them slightly more difficult to use. Weapon flash and smoke are two things that plague the medic rifles. Every time you fire a shot, the weapon kicks out a load of smoke, and that can obscure your view, and because you most likely need to follow up with another shot, you can end up losing your target. This needs to be reduced along with the muzzle flash, and player flinch, an action of an enemy body's flinching when they get shot, that needs to be toned down as well, because this means follow-up shots for a medic can be easily missed. Compared to an LMG or an SMG, which has bullets that follow quite a lot faster due to their full auto fire, this exacerbates the issue for the medic. And lastly, the AD-AD spam for medic can be a big issue as well. If someone's strafing from side to side and you need to land a follow-up shot, that's going to be a lot harder with a semi-automatic rifle than it would be with a fully automatic SMG. Those bullets are coming much faster, you're probably going to hit your target, whereas a medic, they have to be way more accurate. And lastly, I just want to touch on the shotguns. There's been a pellet redesign for every single shotgun in the game. They're now using a consistent system. At the moment in Battlefield 1, before this change, the pellets in each shell, they're shot out randomly within the cone of fire. And that results in some fairly odd results, like extremely long range kills, where all the pellets are grouped together and they all hit the target, mediocre damage at close range because all the pellets missed and only a few of them hit, or complete oddities where, at close range, none of the pellets hit at all. The new model, it reduces the pellet count within each shell for all shotguns to just 12 pellets. And then these 12 pellets, they're spread evenly across the cone of fire. The damage of each pellet is then different per shotgun, and that makes sure there's some pros and cons to using each, but the result should be a much more consistent experience. Having just listened to that back, that is a lot of information for you guys to take in, and I'm trying to tell you that this is better than what we had before. Now, I know over the next couple of weeks, the guys who are in charge of the CTE, they're going to be making even more changes, so expect more videos on this, and I'll try and keep you guys up to date as much as possible on this proposed weapon rebalance. I say proposed because this is not confirmed to come to the final game yet, although I really hope it does. There are a few areas that need addressing, but overall, a change like this for me would massively improve Battlefield 1's gunplay. Let's just say goodbye to the bullet sponges. But thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll be down there reading as many as I can. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.